Hi, I am now going to try to describe very briefly the relationship between Islam and the Babi Baha'i faith. In, in doing so, I will begin with the topic of hypocrisy. It's basically hypocritical of Muslims to reject the validity of the Babi or Baha'i faiths. The reason for that is that rejection of these faiths would undermine the foundation of Islam itself. Of course, the same may be said of Christianity, so we're not here picking only on Islam, but the topic of this talk is Islam, so I will not speak of Christianity again here. Muhammad sealed prophethood and messengership. He sealed these things until the end of the world, or the end of time. But Islam teaches a few other things. One, it teaches that God is a creator. Therefore, a creator must always be a creator. There cannot be a time when the creator ceases to be a creator. Second point is that God sends messages and guidance. He's the guide. For God not to send guidance, he would not be a guide. These 2 points are very important to keep in mind here. There can never be a time when the world ends, because one, God would cease to be a creator, and two, God would cease to be one who sends guidance. So the idea of the end of the world must be reanalyzed. It must be symbolic, metaphorical. Since mankind evolves and doesn't evolve, then the messages and guidance must continue to come in greater and greater portions than what was sent in the past. We're continually learning more about ourselves and the world. We're evolving biologically as well. Now, Islam already teaches that after Muhammad, something greater is expected to appear. It's called the great news, or al-naba. It's spoken of, or the great resurrection, or the great day of judgment. So we already know that in Islam there is a concept of something that appears or happens which comes after Muhammad and the Quran. And also there's something that's even greater than the Quran, which predates it, and therefore it must also post-date it, and that's called the mother book, or the kitab, the master copy from which the Quran was derived, or which gave birth to the Quran. That which gives birth to something else, or creates something else, would be greater than that which is created by it. In this case, that's the Quran. So the conclusion here is that Muhammad sealed prophethood and messengership until the coming of non-prophetic messengers. Or the word messenger here is I'm using it in double quotes, if you will. Messages or guidance, or those who bring God's messages and guidance to his creation. Now, from a Baha'i perspective, this took place. And two of actually these carriers of guidance and messages appeared and inaugurated a new cycle of revelation for the whole of mankind. This new guidance is considered to be the great news and the mother book. So now the concept of what are these? If prophets and messengers ended, then the word that best describes the appearance of this new guidance, it would be a manifestation. That word itself means appearance. So these revelations are in fact better described as having come through manifestations, rather than a term like messenger, which implies that it is prophetic in nature, or pre-nabaic, or before the appearance of the great news. So as described by Professor Nasr, Hossein Nasr, the Quran is already pretty clear that the line of prophets, nabis, and the line of messengers, rasuls, came to a certain end with the appearance of Muhammad. Now the word rasul here, where the linkage is made, direct linkage between rasul and nabi, in Professor Hossein Nasr's recent talks on the topic, yet it needs to be understood that the root word for rasul and also derives the word risalat, which means messages, It derives the word rasul, which means the messenger. And it also derives the word mursil, which means sender, or having been sent, or something that is sent. Someone that sends, the verb tense of sent. Messages or messengers or prophets. So the word mursil is linked directly to the word rasul and risalat, so that the one who is the mursil is himself really, for practical purposes, a rasul, or the carrier of a message. For him to send it, he needs to carry it in order for it to be sent. So we see that there's a very close relationship between rasul and mursil. And that which is carried is risalat, the message. So who's the Bab? The Bab inaugurated the beginning of al-naba, the great news, which the nabi of the past came to warn about and to prepare for. The Bab is therefore the fulfillment of the great news. And the book of the Bab, the Bayan, would then be considered the mother book, the kitab, which is the source of the Quran itself. So who would Bahaullah be? Bahaullah is the promised one of the Bab, with the appearance of the fulfillment of the expectations of the totality of all religious experience, period. The appearance of Bahá'u'llah marks the maturity of mankind's spiritual quest, the fruition of the answers of the prayers of all mankind over the past 6,000 years of the world's pluralistic religious history.